Ingrid, well done on getting through the first level of videos. We'll chat about that a little bit later, but this is primarily, this strategy today is for you to grow your connections. LinkedIn have this wonderful search tab, which is what we're going to use in this strategy. Now, if you click into the search tab, you can search for a person by name, data scientist. You can search for a title, data scientist, or you can search for an actual person by name. But if we know who we're looking for, then that's fine. This is a training for how to find people who you don't know directly. So, Ingrid, give me a title of what your ideal client would be for Working Woman's World. It can be a generic title, and we can,
female entrepreneur would be, is that too broad? But female entrepreneur would be it.
Entrepreneur. So I'm going to just say
okay.
entrepreneur because
Okay.
we can't obviously search for gender.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. Okay.
We can search for nationality. I'm going to show you a really cool hack for that. You can't search for nationality, but you can find people based on school. So what I do is I type in the search, the keyword that we're going to search for people. As I start typing it in, LinkedIn immediately brings up, oh, do you want to look at entrepreneur groups? Look, you can go to support community. Ignore all of this. This is LinkedIn's way to make you want to click through on that. You just want to type in the keyword and then hit enter.
Yep.
And then LinkedIn goes into its searching. And then it brings up everything related to this keyword. So we can look for people, posts, groups, jobs, courses, companies, products, schools, events, services, and then we can further search into the filters. Now, because we're looking specifically to grow our connections, we're going to just look for people. So I'm going to click the people toggle or button, and it gives us the opportunity now. We've got entrepreneur and just people. Now it starts bringing up people who have this title, who are firstly in our second degree connections. So you and these people here are not actually connected. They're second degree connections, but they're also in your same geographic area. But if we scroll down this list and we go all the way down to the bottom, LinkedIn give us a couple of different names. One thing we might try is founder as well. These are different similar searches. And look how big this search is. It's a huge search with 100 various pages of just entrepreneur with people. But because it's in your profile, it's immediately gone into your location. So it's Australia, and there are people in second degree connections. But if we went down to page 99, for sure it'll be people who are third degree connections to you and are somewhere else in the world. So we now have the opportunity to filter by a specific location. We can filter by who's in your first, second, and third degree, but I'm going to keep this out. Obviously, we're looking for people you don't know, but they could be in the second degree and they could be in the third degree. Right. But we're now going to check by location. So what corner of the world would you like to grow your circles of influence with, Ingrid, with entrepreneurs? And it can be anywhere in the world. Where would you like to start first? And we can come back and choose. So just choose one country for now.
Yes. Well, can we choose Australia? Because obviously I'm recently immigrated here, and so yes, I really do want to grow my audience here. Okay.
So then you click Australia. You can click multiple territories, but we're just going to click Australia for now. And then we go show results. Now these results, this page looks a little bit similar to what we've just seen because that's what LinkedIn showed you. However, it's definitely a much smaller search area. Now, if we go into all filters, we can search by people who are either at a certain company. So we can search for self-employed people, which I think we should check, because that makes sense. You can also search based on previous companies, but that's not going to be relevant right now. We're going to come back to school. School is tertiary education, but here is the most important, is industry. You can search for entrepreneurs who are self-employed, because that's the other area we tick, in a particular industry. The other search terms here are profile language, service categories. So this is what they offer. Remember, and we programmed on in that first profile optimization, we looked at services, and then you could go into keywords, title, and companies. So what I would suggest is that we choose industry. I mean, I know from an entrepreneurial perspective, your clients are in broad industry, so maybe industry isn't right. Maybe we should keep industry open so you could attract an entrepreneur from any industry, but then you're looking for people who offer consulting services on LinkedIn. So if we click business consulting, marketing, general consulting, coaching and mentoring, what we're doing is telling the LinkedIn algorithm just to show us entrepreneurs who are offering these services on LinkedIn. Does that make sense?
Yes, and so Lisa, essentially these people that I'm filtering for are my competitors.
Or your ideal clients.
Okay.
Ideal
Because I mean,
clients.
if I think about it, I'm in business consulting, you know, and coaching and mentoring, but I am consulting to, you know, female entrepreneurs growing their businesses, which might be product-related businesses. They could be service-related businesses. And so it could be people that do financial consulting, as an example, that kind of stuff. So that's, I'm just being clear on, am I filtering for, if I filter for those kind of people, I'm going to get my competitors, but then I could see who they connected to. The other thing is I could not go for my competitors and just look for my ideal audience.
Ideal audience, absolutely. I think for me it's about testing. There is no right or wrong way. It's simply about using the criterion testing. So let's keep this for now. So we haven't got operations. Let's just keep these service categories in line. We've kept the industry open and we haven't deselected anybody from a school perspective. Let's just click show results and see what we come up with. How's that? Now, what you get is, and I'm just sorry, I need to move there. So these are people who our criteria was entrepreneur, Australia, self-employed, and they're offering services on LinkedIn. So these could be your immediate competitors, or maybe they're collaborators.
True.
There's a number of, I mean, relations manager, a dad software solution, MBA and instrument, you know, there's some interesting people here. And these are, but you see, they're all in your third degree. The only person who you have in connection in your second degree is Ruben. But the rest of them are third degree, and then we start, like LinkedIn member is somebody who's way outside of your connections. And then if we click to, so it's a small search. It's only 2 pages, and that's a very small search. So perhaps it has been too small a search for us in terms of you finding the right people. But
as
here,
you said, Lisa, you can play around with it, I'm seeing.
Yes, you can play around with it. We can go back to this. These are entrepreneurs who are offering services on LinkedIn. So let's go back to the all filters and take off the search categories of services that we had. So we're going to remove the service categories, and then let's choose, and you could choose an industry, but I also know that your clients are very broad. So what I want to show you now is a really fun way of finding the South Africans. So you can't search by nationality, but if you go into school, and you just start typing in the major universities in South Africa, you can then come up with all of the universities, not the business schools, but the universities. So you start choosing Stellenbosch University, UCT, WITS, UKZN comes up. We can also search by Nelson Mandela University, Pretoria, University of Pretoria, and let's do Rhodes. Whoops. So this to me is a really interesting way, Rhodes University. So more or less, I mean, there's a whole bunch more universities, but we've got 7 of the main universities in South Africa. We've taken off service categories. We're just looking for entrepreneurs in Australia who call themselves self-employed. And we're going to click show results with the universities connected. And then we find the South Africans. Now, if we take off the self-employed option and go show results, it might open up the search field even more. And it does, which I thought it would. Look how many pages there are. So they are literally a whole, and these are all the South Africans. No, they may not be South African exactly, but they have a South African connection because we've toggled by the 7 South African schools. So let's just test it by clicking on somewhere. Choose someone here that we can have a look at their profile.
Just Taryn de Villiers. Maybe we'll click on her because I see she's a second connection. So that'll be interesting.
Right click on her profile and then we go over here. Can you still see? Can you see her profile?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So she definitely comes up in the search because in her headline is successful entrepreneur, and there we are, University of South Africa, but we didn't click UNISA, we actually clicked Cape Town.
Yes.
So there, through her education, we can then see that she is a South African, but now she is also the chief operating officer of a company called Metagenetics.
Okay.
Which is a whole big, interesting business.
Yes.
And I'm sure as a South African entrepreneur, and with her profile's not very well populated, I mean, she doesn't have a lot of information, but she's the chief operations officer of this business. You can read her about section here and what she does, but she will definitely be interested in connecting with you because you're both in Australia. You are both entrepreneurs, but you've got this South African connection, and you've actually got a mutual connection here.
Yes.
Which is interesting. So if we go back to the search term, for me, it's about entrepreneurs really using the search criteria very differently. Now, we've got the word entrepreneur, we've got Australia, and we've got the 7 different South African schools. Let's change this word, the search term, the key search term, to founder, rather. So if we change that out to founder in Australia, and we're unearthing the South Africans. And again, look how many they are. And look how big this page is. If we click through to the 8th page, look how far this is. Here, there is a farmer, and she's a South African. If we click on her name, again, we can prove, there we go, University of Cape Town. So the search function to me is so powerful. It's a little bit of hit and miss at first. We're like, what are we looking for? What is the title? What do people resonate with? But then slowly you start seeing the ability to grow your circles of influence within communities. And the community we're choosing now are all the people who studied at those 7 universities. Now we can change that to 7 universities in the United Kingdom, or universities from Germany or America. You can't search for nationality on LinkedIn, but you can filter by where people have studied. And the important thing here is for you to start making connections with the founders or entrepreneurs in Australia, but the people most likely who are going to connect with you will be those that have some relevance. And if you don't know entrepreneurs in Australia, you're going to be, second degree or third degree with most of them, but the university is then going to connect you.
And yes, just looking, yes, no, that's fascinating. That's amazing. I'm looking on the right-hand side there. So it says connect, but some of them say follow.
Follow.
Does that mean you can't connect with them? You can only follow them, or is there a way that you can connect?
You can connect with them. What it just means is that they have toggled their primary their primary way of someone reconnecting with them as a follow button rather than a connect. And it's what I have on my profile. So what you can do though is right click, open their profile in a new tab, and then you go over to their profile. Here's Colin Jarl. And the interesting thing is you get this more button. Yes, you can follow him, but if you click on the more button, the option to connect comes up and you can connect. But LinkedIn just don't show that to you in the first stage. Now, we're still at the point of having found the right people. And this takes a little bit of playing around with the search filters, playing around with the industry. These are a whole bunch of people who've studied at a South African university, who call themselves founders and who are in Australia. We haven't even filtered further. So like this guy who is, his profile, what industry was he in? He's in behavioral science, and his business is a service that makes days and weeks after a person's death or incapacity a little bit easier. Gosh. So his business is about deceased estate and death planning, and Megan's business is an organic olive grove. So this is the type of diversity of entrepreneurs, because we haven't gone into the all filters here to toggle by certain industry. So we could just select, say, financial services, because that would be an ideal client for you. Entrepreneurs, South Africans who have a South African connection, who are based in Australia, they call themselves founders, and they're in the financial services industry. So let's click this to get an even more niched result. And here we are looking at just entrepreneurs who have started financial services businesses, and it's a slightly smaller search term. So that previous search was up to 100 pages, and this is down to 20 pages. So it's a much smaller search area, and a more relevant one for you, Ingrid. You could go through this list, and what I would suggest is that we just toggle through and look for, a lot of them are men, and I know that Working Women's World obviously is specifically for women, but you could just click through here to see, are there any women who are, remember, South African? There we go. We've got a woman here who's in financial services industry. So if we right click on Tracy's profile, and then it opens up the LinkedIn profile, we can find out more about her. Entrepreneur, business growth, co-founder of Hello Near Me. So she's founder, and she went to Rhodes University. So she's definitely South African. Doesn't have the secondary education, it has her tertiary education. And this is where it gets, for me, quite interesting, is for you to connect with her. She may or may not be an ideal client. She may or may not be potentially a competitor, but she's a founder who's in financial services. She has a South African background, and for you to connect with her, you're going to unlock all her second degree connections. And right now she's a third degree connection. So it starts to open up your ability to connect with more South Africans who are in the financial services industry, who identify as founders on LinkedIn. Does that make sense, Ingrid?
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Thanks, Licia. Yes. Such a
Isn't
clever
that
way to do it.
such an interesting way to sort of start
Mm.
opening up those connections? So if we go back to the search term, let's take financial services off, and we can type in anything here. If we go pharmaceutical manufacturing, are there any entrepreneurs? Because I know that you also have a sort of pharmaceutical background broadly. South Africans. They resonate. Their title is founder, and they are in Australia. Not a lot, just these 5. But here are some really interesting people. Now, let's have a look at Pamela's profile. So we're going to right-click onto her profile. She's just got the follow button. But if we open her up, sorry, I just need to close some of that. So here's Pamela's profile. She calls herself, she's a group executive, non-executive director. So founder would be somewhere on her profile. She's an alumni from UKZN, so she has the South African connection. She's a C-suite leader. And she's in the pharmaceutical space and place. Now, what's exciting for me is that she is a 3rd-degree connection. She's based in Sydney. She's got just under 5,000 connections, and you are not connected to her. And who she is connected to could be a huge amount of potential ideal clients for you.
Definitely.
So,
Gosh.
what we're going to talk about now, so the search filter is what you really want to get granular with. You can get so granular, but I love the hack of using schools to identify the people who are most relevant to you. You being a South African, look for the South Africans in your area. Now, let's do an interesting thing here. We're going to come back to Australia. Let's take Australia off, and I know I mentioned Germany. Let's just zoom off to Germany. Look for the South Africans who studied at these 7 schools, who are founders within pharmaceutical. I mean, we might find there's a South African in every corner of the world. Look at that. And there we go. There are people who have been founders or who are founders. I mean, sometimes you can tell by their name and immediately see the beautiful South Africans. Sometimes it's harder to see if they are South African or not. But look at this chap. I mean, he's German, clearly, has a very German name. What is his South African?
Yeah,
Good.
gosh.
Studied at the UKZN, and he's got it on his profile. He became a doctor. He studied medicine in South Africa, and then he moved to Germany. And interestingly enough, if you wanted to connect with people within the pharmaceutical industry, he actually runs what looks like his own executive search firm. So he's a doctor who's become a recruiter. He's a South African, and he is based in Germany. So you wanted to grow your circles of influence within the pharmaceutical industry, within Germany, within founders, startups, and entrepreneurs. He might not be your immediate ideal client, but it's who he's connected to that's going to unlock all those 2nd-degree connections. So let's go back to Australia. We're going to zoom back out of Germany and go back to our original term. You can go anywhere in the world. I mean, before we do that, I love playing. This is the LinkedIn geek in me. Let's just put United States. So we've taken Germany out, and we've still got the South Africans and pharmaceutical and founder. And look how many. This is the States. Now we've zoomed out into the United States. And here is also not a big search, so we're toggling by the South Africans. But how interesting. Isn't it fascinating?
It really is. And Lisa, I was looking there when you were typing in Australia, was it broken down into the states as well? Like,
Yes. So
okay, so
you
you can
can
also,
go New South Wales, yeah,
okay,
Australia.
right. Oh,
There,
right.
you
You
can
can
go
even go into the
Sydney.
cities as well.
So we can, should we, which part of Australia would you
I'm the
want?
Gold Coast, Queensland. But what's nice about that is if you're an entrepreneur with a physical business as such, let's say you have a shop or you whatever, or you're running a workshop in a certain area, I guess it's nice to then, have a certain geolocation and connect with people in that area first. So that's what I
Yes,
thought was really, really nice.
yes. So
Mm.
here we've just got founder, the South Africans and Queensland. And
Mm.
look at the people that you can connect with. Now, this first level, there's a lot of, this is a big search. So if I'm going to click
Yeah.
onto page 31, Hanno and James are studied at one of those South African universities. They're based in Queensland and they're in your third degree connection. I mean, one's a web developer, one's a systems engineer. So not immediately relevant for you, but they have found it somewhere on their profile, somewhere on their LinkedIn profile. And it's about who they know that you might want to know.
Mm.
So when you start with your circles of connections, here's an interesting one. He's got a school background. When you start with your circles of connections, my first thing is we haven't even got to the strategy of connecting with them. Just
Mm.
use the search filters to zoom in and out and find people. And I mean, draw a huge big circle on a piece of paper, and then you're going to write down how many pages of searches you've got. So 31 pages with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 profiles per page. So that's
Gosh.
10 times
300.
31 pages of just people who resonate, who've gone to these 7 South African universities in Queensland who have the title founder. Now, if we take founder off and put I'm going to try fempreneur. That's a sort of
Yes, there's a term that's used a lot.
let me just get the spelling right.
Yeah, that's right.
EUR.
EUR. Mm.
Fempreneur and see. Okay, no results found. So it's too limited a search. So let's just try CEO. So we've still got the locality of Queensland, South Africans, and now we've got CEO. So this is now we've gone into a huge search, 45 pages. So this is not necessarily entrepreneurs. This is just
Yes.
any South African who's a CEO in the Gold Coast.
Yes.
We can
Amazing.
then further filter by industry. So this search we could then filter by industry. So it's quite it can be overwhelming, but the beginning is just to get comfortable with the search filters.
No,
You can
it's
search by
fascinating.
title, CEO or founder. Let's
Mm.
put in innovation out of interest. That's an interesting, well, actually, let's try AI as a title. So a search term. So we've just got AI, South Africans in Queensland.
Mm.
And there's a whole bunch of people there. 20, so that's 20,000.
Yes.
20 pages with 10 profiles each. So when I start with this and I work with my clients, I suggest to them to play around with what closest factor is most relevant to you. So your ideal client in the search term by title or job title or term, AI, innovation, or founder. And then you want to try the nationality to find the people who would be most likely to connect with you. South Africa universities is a wonderful filter because there literally is a South African in every corner of the world. But for anybody who wants to search with different nationalities, you use those relevant universities. You could even use business schools. I mean, we've gone with tertiary education. I didn't go with business schools because so many foreigners study at our business schools that it would unearth them. So you could even try business schools too. And then just play around with the location and just have a look at the circle of influence. So your main circle of influence, Ingrid, for founders who have a South African connection in Queensland, your main circle of influence here is 31 pages of 10 profiles. So that's 31,000 LinkedIn connections, which is really big. And that's too big for you. But what you can't search for is gender. So you would then just flip through these pages to find all the women. And
yes.
I mean, here's a fashion stylist, co-founder, brand manager. I mean, she could potentially be, let's right click on her profile and open up here. Pamela not Pamela, that was who we were looking for. Norma could potentially be your ideal client. Because she has this entrepreneurial element, but doesn't look like she's necessarily, well, she is a co-founder of a label. And she has this South African connection. If we click on 13 educations and we go all the way down, there's going to be, there we go, this.
Okay.
So once you've got familiar with that search term, let's go back to the page here. So you've got 31,000 in your circle of influence, Ingrid, that you're going to toggle through. You can also toggle through what the other people have searched for. So we could try owner instead of founder. We could try president. LinkedIn suggests all these different titles here. But once you've whittled this down to, I would say, 5 pages, 500 people, like a real circle of influence needs to be kind of 500 or less, because that, 31,000 profiles to have to reach out to is way too much. So you want to further refine this by either industry or services they're offering to get to a smaller search term of just 5 pages, because that's doable. And then what you're going to do is start sending connection requests. Now, remember, if you haven't got the premium version, you have a limited amount of connection requests that you can send. But I'm going to use Norma as an example because we've looked at her profile and we've picked her out, and she could easily be your ideal client. But if she isn't, you want to grow your connections with entrepreneurs in the fashion industry who happen to be based in Queensland, Australia, and they're also South Africans, correct?
Lisa, actually, I realized that Pamela Becker, I actually know her quite well. We were at university together, so you could use her because I can happily connect with her.
Connect with her. So I am definitely going to use Pamela Becker because she's got the message. So she's
sorry.
She's changed so you can either message her or you can connect, but I want to show you how easy it is with people who you do not know. So you've got the option to connect. So if we then go and we click on that connect button, it brings us the option to add a note. Now you always want to add note when you send out a connection request. There we go. 5 personalized invitations for this month. So the non-premium version just gives you 5 personalized invitations. So I'm going to type this out, but I'm not going to use it for Norma because we've just got 5. Now you can see here that this little block, this number here, 0/200, is 200 characters. Now remember from the first training, a character on LinkedIn is a letter, it's a punctuation, and it's a space. So that's what the 200 is. And we do not want to use all 200 because this is the message that you get in your DMs that will make you want to connect with make Norma want to connect with you, and you don't want to say too much to begin with because it'll be too much info for her to have to read through. It's almost an immediate decision. And for me, the only sentence that you share here is, I'd value the opportunity to connect. And on one line, you're going to say, regards, Ingrid. Just that. Basically, what this tells her is, one, you're not spammy. You're not just sending out a bunch of connection requests with no message. You're telling her that you specifically want to connect with her. She's seen that you've had a look at her profile, and you're just showing some manners. I mean, by saying, I'd value the opportunity to connect. So if this was a real world networking convention, you've now gone over to the people in Queensland on the Gold Coast who are South Africans or had a connection with South Africa, and they're entrepreneurs. And you've gone over to Norma and you kind of tapped her on the shoulder and you've said, hi, my name's Ingrid. I value the opportunity to connect. What you're not going to do before you even met her is tell her all about your business, all about you and what you can do for her, because she doesn't know you from a bar of soap. So this first level connection request for me is something that's very light and simple. That just gives her a simple yes, connect. You don't want to give her a whole bunch of I do this and I do that and this is my podcast and use up this 200, because for sure she's not going to have the time to think about that or read that. You just want her to connect with you, and you want her to feel safe to connect with you, and that's all you send, right?
Right.
So and the reason why it's all on one line is because in the DMs, and you'll see that when you go to the DMs, that if you use up the space, it doesn't show that, like that one line in the DMs, you get that one line as visible. So you want it to be as simple and easy. When someone says, hi, Licia, and then they go down to line 2 and line 3, I've got to click into that message. The likelihood of me doing that and accepting that connection request is already reduced. Because when someone says, hi, Licia, for sure they're going to go into, I'm a this and I sell this and I want to sell this too, and I'm going to go, no, I'm not going to connect. But if somebody just straight off the bat, easy says, I'd love to connect with you regarding Ingrid, the likelihood of me connecting is
much higher.
Do you get that?
Yes, absolutely. No, that's great. Thank you for that.
So we're not going to send it to Norma, but I copied that. So essentially, it's copied on your browser. So what you could do now is literally just copy, paste, and send as you flip through, and you're looking for all of the women, because that's mainly your client for now. So here's Ruth, here's Isabel. You would just click, click, click. So where they don't have connect and they have follow, that's where you've then got to right click on their profile, like I showed you with the other contact, and then you can go on the more button, click more, and there's the connect, and then you add notes. So it's a little bit of a workaround. And I am going to send a connection request to Isabel for you.
Okay.
So there we go. You've sent her I value the opportunity to connect. And let's go back to that first page that we saw where Pamela was. We know Pam from Busty. So she has message. So if you click message, it's where, one, you have to have a premium account to be able to message her, because she's not in your second degree. She's not in your first degree. But you can do the same thing by right-clicking on her profile, opening her profile in another tab, and there you get, there's her profile, and you click on the more button again, and there's the connect. So you can use this workaround to find people by clicking on their profiles, and then you go connect. And with Pamela, we're going to add the note, I'd value the opportunity of connect, and then you'd send it. But you don't even actually have to send this to her, because she potentially would have seen you following her or looking at your profile, and she might connect with you. But one thing that you are going to need to do, Ingrid, to really get the most out of LinkedIn as you're growing your business is upgrade to the premium so that you have an unlimited amount of connections in this strategy of growing your circles of influence. And the first month is free. So when you join premium, your first month is free. And my advice is that you then focus on growing your connections with your ideal clients in that free first month so that your profile is so completely geared to all of the connections that are relevant. Now, look how many mutual connections you have with Pam, but connecting with somebody who's active on LinkedIn just opens up your second degree connections, which is amazing too.
Awesome.
Now, the third step of this strategy. So the first step is using the search filters and getting granular and finding the South Africans. Second step is sending them that simple note. I'd value the opportunity to connect. Regards, Ingrid. You don't need to tell them why you're connecting. You don't need to tell them for what purpose. You want to keep it simple. You want a simple yes, no. That's all. She will connect with you. People who don't know you will connect with you because of the relevance of you being South African and you being an entrepreneur. So it's how your profile is written. The third step then is once they have connected with you, all these people who you do not know, but you've got some relevance based on your circle of influence, what do you do once they have connected with you? Now, LinkedIn sometimes will show you in your notifications that these new connections have accepted your connection request, but sometimes you can miss that. So the third step for me is that you're going to click onto My Network, the My Network tab here, and now there's a bunch of people who've sent you connection requests. Now, none of these people have sent you a note. If they had have sent you a note, and I'm going to just click the show all because it's a nice example to see. No, none of these people have sent you a note, which is interesting. But if they had have sent you a note, you would have seen it in this here and the first line. And that's what my point is, that you just want to keep it as a simple yes or no. I'd value the opportunity to connect would have come up here. And then you literally, you either ignore or you accept. And that's how easy it is. But we want to now look at, did your circle of influence for entrepreneurs in Queensland who are South Africans connect with you? We're going to click onto the connections tab here because they would have immediately accepted you as your connections. So they would be here. So Tristan, for example, you connected with him on the 12th of May. And anyone above Tristan would have been these lovely people that we sent connection requests to.
Yeah.
But people don't connect immediately, and it's fine. But once they do connect with you, you now have the option to send them a message because he is now connected with you. You've got unlimited messages with all of your first degree connections. So I'm just going to go to my profile because there I am, and we'll use my profile as an example. So this is the third step. Now, in the analogy of you've tapped on these people's shoulders, founders who have a South African connection, who are connected to you. Now we've got a whole bunch of messages there. And the message you sent to them was, I'd value the opportunity to connect, right? So I'm just going to type that here because that's, I'd value the opportunity to connect. Regards, Ingrid, just so that you can see that's what it would look like. So that's what your first connection would look like to somebody who does not know you, but who's accepted your connection request. So that's what they see, and they probably would have clicked on your profile as well. So you've gone over and you said, hi, let's meet. If they've then accepted your connection request and they've shown up under your network and connections, because that's where we went, you're then going to send them a message to further nurture that connection, because this is somebody who does not know you from a bar of soap, apart from the fact that they've got some South African connection and they're in your area based on this filters that you used, right? Are you still with me, Ingrid? Because I know it gets a
I'm
little
with
bit
you.
granular right now.
No, I'm
Okay.
with you. So just
So
to
now
refresh quickly, so I go to my network and then
my
get the drop
network
down latest and then push.
connections, yes,
Okay, and then push the messages.
push messages, and I'm using me as the example, and there's
Perfect.
us with the podcast that we recorded, which is quite bizarre that that's playing away. So here is a standard message, and again, this is for you to respond to people at scale, because your first search criteria unearthed 31,000 connections, 31,000 people who had the term founder in Queensland and a South African thing. And you've said to them, I value the opportunity to connect. And the next thing we're literally going to say here is thank you for the connection, which is basically showing them that you were raised, you were brought up, you weren't dragged up. So you say thank you for the connection. Now you're going to have a giggle. Oops, I needed to show you something here, and I'm so glad that I did that. So these three little buttons, you can change this to click send rather than press enter. So you see,
that's
I
great.
clicked enter and then it went through, which is absolutely fine. I'm just going to copy that again because I want it to be all on one message. Thank you for the connection. Now I've got to click send, so I can do a whole bunch of things here. Now I'm just going to write in capital letters, jam, jam, jam. You're going to laugh because this strategy here is what I call a jam sandwich. So the first piece of bread to the person who does not know you from a bar of soap but said yes, because you said I'd value the opportunity to connect, is thank you for the connection. The middle part is jam, where you're going to send them something that's relevant to why they connected with you, but you're not going to spam them with everything that you're going to try and do for them. And then the second piece of jam is simply I look forward to future contact. Thankfully, they have an edit button, so we don't have to misspell anything. I look forward to future contact. And then we're going to space it down and say, warm regards, Ingrid. And then you're also going to put your mobile number in your international dial tone. So this is very important for me. This is the DMs. So this is the messaging space where nobody on LinkedIn sees what you're messaging. And most people in the DMs get it completely wrong. They spam you or scam you or, Ingrid, I need a job. Or, can you employ me? Or, you get all of those. Absolutely. You're going to get, and you're also going to get sponsored messages. So this guy, David, has paid LinkedIn to send a whole bunch of sponsored messages, and Kate. And they've paid LinkedIn to find their ideal clients, which is the thing that you can do. But when it says sponsored for me, it's like you've just, there's no relevance here. I'm potentially going to ignore that. But this jam sandwich strategy is what I use to nurture relevance to those people. So you've gone over to the people in South African Connections who are founders and they're in your area, and you've literally tapped them on the shoulder and said, I value the opportunity to connect. And they've just gone simple, yes, they've connected with you. What you're not going to do is make them regret having connected with you. So you're not going to send them a whole bunch of, I want to sell you this and spammy stuff. But you do want to weave some relevance to that connection. So the first piece of bread is simply thank you for the connection. The jam here is going to be that sweetness that makes it relevant to them, or they understand the relevance of why you reached out to them. And then this last sentence, which is the second piece of bread, if this were a sandwich, I look forward to future contact, tempers your connection. So it basically puts your connection with them in a non-urgency sense, because what most people get wrong in the DMs is they will say, please, can I sell you something today? I want to hop on a call tomorrow. I want a job with your company. It's this urgency which completely puts people off and 100% puts me off. But if you say, I look forward to future contact, you're meeting them with calm gravitas and saying, hi, Norma, thanks for the connection. Relevance in the jam, which we'll talk about in a minute, but, when you're ready, we can reach out. I look forward to future contact, but you've also offered them your mobile number. So should this jam connect with them immediately, she can immediately phone you or respond to you right there and then. And remember, LinkedIn is where most people are looking at LinkedIn on their phone. So this message has come up on your phone, and if you toggle your finger over that number, you can call people straight out of the message, out of the DMs on LinkedIn.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. Okay.
You can also here add an image, you can attach a document, you can add a GIF, and you can add a smiley face. But let's get to what the relevance of the jam is. Now, this is where that circle of influence that you wrote down, the criteria, is so important. We know these were founders, we know they were in Queensland, and we know that they were South Africans because of their connections to the university. So they're not in any particular industry at all. Now, you can say to her, thank you for the connection. I'm excited to meet fellow country woman or fellow South Africans working within the entrepreneurial space in Queensland. I look forward to future contact. So your jam message can be something very simple. Wonderful to meet South African entrepreneurs in Queensland. You could say something along the lines of, wonderful to meet South African entrepreneurs in Queensland. I've recently relocated and my online business continues to grow. So you could connect her to something further, but you don't even have to be that direct, because Ingrid, she's accepted your connection request, and I can almost guarantee she's looked at your profile. And if we look at your profile, and I'm going to, well, let me just send that message. So there it is as an example in our messaging system between you and I. When you go to your profile, she, based on what you've said here, is going to see the connection. She's going to see that you're a marketing business development specialist and that you went to the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And when she gets further down, she's going to find out more about what you do, because we're going to talk about company pages and so forth. So that's the third part of growing your circles of influence strategy, is you use the search term. And if we tab back here, we get to that connections where you were. You then filter. Here are your connections. So anyone who's connected with you based on that, I'd value the opportunity to connect, would be here. And then you send them a message. So if we tab back further, it takes us to that original search term. So there's my network connections. We're just reversing how we got here. And then one tab back is to the page where we were looking founder, entrepreneur, and so forth. And you were then going down and sending them the connection request, add a note, and pasting. Oh, that's copied from my other one, but I'd value the opportunity to connect. And that, to me, is the most exciting thing about LinkedIn, is you can be so granular with who you want to find and how you want to find just in the search term. How does that feel, Ingrid?
No, that's amazing. And I love the way you talk about it as growing your circles of influence, because
yes,
really that's what modern marketing is about, isn't it? It's about,
yes,
having a community, building good relationships, and really generating business that way. Because when you do that, then it's an easy sell, no matter what you're doing. It's about sharing value, building relationships, building trust, supporting one another. So it's really great. Awesome.
And I'm just going to take it off share